What's up guys, welcome to the first video of the series in which I make a hardstyle track from scratch. This series is very special because except for the kick, I will either use some presets from a VST plugin or I will make the sound from scratch myself. So in this first video you can follow what I'm thinking when I'm making a hardstyle track. In this video you will see how I make the leads, how I make the arpeggios, how I will make the bass. At some point I even throw away the melody and make a complete new one, so you can watch me make 2 melodies in this tutorial. So what I want you guys to do is go to the comments and leave a suggestion or a new idea for the track, or just let me know if you have any questions. So because this series is free, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel and like the video. So I really hope you will enjoy it, and let's start making the track. First off, I'm going to add a spire to make a pad. I'll just choose one of my favorites. This one sounds nice, and then I'm going to make a chord progression and a melody from that. I will increase the BPM to 150. And I will make it G minor. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of darkness to it, a little bit of tension, by adding some notes that are in the harmonic scale. Just imagining in my head what I'm doing with notes. I'm going to repeat this. And I'm adding that spice with the harmonic chord. It's like, instead of D minor, it's going to be D major. And then I'm going to add a plucky sound. I want to add the reverb later, but first I want to hear how it sounds like. And the rhythm changes here, so I want to change that. Because there are 4 notes here, it will also trigger the 4 notes, and I only want the rhythm to continue in 3s, like it's going here. But I like this note. I'm going to add a reverb, and I always use the same one. I might change it someday again. For now it has worked very well for me. It's this preset, you can just copy it if you want. This is the main. I will copy this as well. And this is for the leads. This is going to 4. Maybe I will add a delay to this sound. This is pretty cool. I will add a bass to it. So let me just make this pad, arp, bass. I will group this one, I will group this one, I will group this one as well. And also call this bass. These are mostly random sounds. This is going to be the mids or the pads, because I might add new sounds later to them. And I already want to group them, and I want to group these one as well as the mids. So everything that is going into the mids is going to belong here. And the bass has its separate group as well. I like to give my basses like a reddish color. And the mids a bluish color. It's just what I like, what I do. Just a slight accent. Maybe that. Okay, so for the bass I am just going to add a serum. This is enough for now. I'm going to add our bass to it. Just to increase the bass frequencies and make it a little bit more tight. It's always kind of difficult to determine whether the bass note has to go on the high one or has to go on the lower one. For me, the D sharp, E is kind of the limit. If it goes above that, I will choose to put the note under it again. Maybe I will change this note here, because if I change the bass note to this one, I can change this chord into a sharp major, which will change this one. And then we can just make this one a G minor chord as well. The A sharp major is very similar to the G minor. It just is an F instead of a G, and the root note is on the A sharp, of course. So it gives just a tiny different feeling to the melody or the chords. And the same thing is for the D sharp major. It's almost the same as the C minor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this D sharp major into a C minor. And I will first show you how it sounds like now. And now we'll change this chord. I really like the atmosphere. Now what I'm going to do is I will add the leads. I'll just add one layer and make a melody with it. That's it. I'm going to add another group. So what I would normally do is I would go to another project and I would just go to my latest track and open the project and just look at what is in it. This is the leads group. I will just grab it and then I would put this here. And when it's imported, it has all the layers already ready to go. So these are all the layers that I could use, but I won't, because I want to show you how I make the sounds. And that's what I'm going to do. And we'll put this on a init preset. I will add a pitch, LFO. And then I will add another one. I will add a silent one as well. With more like a big saw wave, like we are used to. And I will also add the portamento from the other one. And now I will add a MIDI group with lead, MIDI. And I will select this as the input for the channels. Just like this. Which means if I make a MIDI clip here, I first have to set the input on, and then I can add these. And it will automatically go in these tracks. I will send this to the reverb. Turn on the compressor and select the input from number 12, I think. And as you can see, the reverb goes up when I release the sound. I also want to add an instance of DUNE, because DUNE is a very capable synthesizer and you can make very big, thick leads with it. And it's always kind of tricky to make a glide with another synth, but most of the times I just check it by adding a note here and then checking if it's going up the same rate. Something like that. I want to decrease this volume. This sounds pretty good to me so far. I will add more leads later to widen the sound and stuff like that. But for now I can work with this and I can make a melody out of it. I will also add an EQ just to make sure there are no low frequencies in this track from the leads. And we can copy the same melody because the chords are almost the same, but still the vibe is different because there are different chords beneath it. So what I want to do now, I want to copy this one and make this the second voice and make a third. For the third voice, I'll group these together just to make sure I don't lose them. I'll also make this a new color This one is okay, but I want to change these ones so they don't look too similar. And now we're going to assign everything the same color. And I will change this one to slightly different color. Yeah, this is okay. So now we will also add 2 MIDI channels to make the harmonies in it. I will just copy this one. I will set the input on number 18 and this one on number 19. I will change this one to lead MIDI second, MIDI third. Yeah, so now we'll change this one. Now I can copy some of it. This one as well, but I want to change this one, I think. And for the third voice, it's very easy. It's just one lower. And maybe we will bring this up 1 octave later. And this chord changes into G minor, so I have to change that as well. And while making melodies and sounds, I'm always going back and forth, changing the melody a bit and then changing the lead sounds a bit and then trying to adjust them and to make them sound good. So I want to thicken the sound. Just adding a release to make it sound a little bit more natural. Now the fun thing to do is to add a glide to the sounds. And sometimes I will add the glide to the harmonies as well, but sometimes I won't. It just depends on what I feel like. But for the first note, I think it could be done. So one thing that is bothering me is that there's as much reverb going from the harmonies to the reverb return track as it is from these tracks. So I'm going to change that and remove the reverb, and I'm going to group the normal main layer and send that reverb to the return channel. Also send this one, but a little bit lower. Okay, now I'm going to add a delay for the leads as well. And I will also add a compressor here for keeping the sound a little bit clean. Okay, what I want to do now is add some layers to the left and right, because I feel it's not wide enough. So I will group this one left, or I'll call this wider. This still has the same input, but I will put the volume a little bit lower, and then I will pan this one to the left. I will duplicate it. This one to the right, and then I will add a delay to it, to the sound, so that it feels like it is very wide. Okay, it sounds the same, and now I will add this one. So depending on this time here, it will sound very close or very wide. If I increase this number too high, it would sound like there are even two different sounds. Just like that. That's not what we want. We want to bring them a little bit closer to each other. This is good, and I will also add a little bit of white noise to the sound. And also changing the sound a little bit from the left to the right will also help to make it seem they are wider. Just like that. And I will change this sound a little bit. So I want to lower this volume to not take up the space of the rest. This should be the main sound as well as this one. You hear the difference? It's pretty big and it adds a lot of space to the track. And you can do the same trick as I did here, but I wanted to have these channels separate so I could change the sound itself, but I could also just do it in a delay. So I will turn off this link. Make this wet, turn the feedback down. Just like that. And I will copy this one over here, but I will make this the other way around. So the difference is quite clear. If I turn these off, now I will turn them on again. And together with these sounds. Pretty cool, right? So in my opinion, the melody is pretty okay in this case. It's not the best one. It just follows the chords and that's what makes it sound okay. It does not sound out of tune or anything, but I'm probably going to tweak it a little bit more. I will just add a clap for the rhythm. Let me grab my Cashmere sample pack. Pretty okay clap. I won't do too much right now. So I really like to make long melodies like these ones, but they are a little bit more difficult in my opinion, because you have to fill up the melody on a longer range and you have to keep it flowing, and if the chords don't change that much, it's very difficult to add the movement and the energy. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take the same chords and I'm going to shorten it a little bit so that it's only half or a quarter of the section here, just to try some things out. And this is kind of how I always start, except for making the leads from scratch. I always just grab a few sounds, put them together, and then changing the melody over time as well. And then over time I have a new concept that I can work with. I could also just shorten it by dividing this. Pretty good, pretty good. So again, the great thing of making the MIDI separate from the layers is I don't have to touch any MIDI clips for the lead layers. I don't have to copy anything. It's pretty great. Da-da, da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da. Da, da. Kind of like that. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. Da-dun, da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. Yeah, I can already imagine in my head how it's going to sound. So the great thing about doing this for a very long time is I already know how I want it to sound in my head, and with a lot of practice you can just make it exactly how you want it to sound. So the great thing about this melody is I've got kind of a question answer thing going on, with this being the question, this being the answer, and here as well, but I'm going to have to work on the answer, on the resolution of the melody a little bit more, because it's not really going that well over here and neither is it going over here. So that's something I will be working on right now. If you listen very carefully, you can hear that the pad itself, it's already bringing a little bit of energy to it, because the notes are a little bit higher here and there are more notes. Therefore you feel kind of a little bit of movement going up. And I want to make use of that by adding a few notes over here as well. I might change this later, but right now it feels good to do this. So I will just copy this one and maybe it will sound good, maybe it won't. The purpose is repetition, you know. You want to add a lot of repetition to your track, to your melodies, to your sounds, because as the great Adam Neely says, repetition legitimizes, and it's very useful to making good tracks. So I really like this melody right now, and I'm going to add harmonies to this one as well. So one other cool thing what we can do is we can change this G minor chord to a G major in the second half. I will just focus on this one first. Oh. And then I will move this one up. And then after that, deselect this one, select all of these. So instead of this, it now sounds like this. Which is a small difference, but it can add a lot. But I will probably use this only when we are further in the track. So this is a cool trick to use, but for now I will just leave it there. So yeah. This concludes the first session, I guess. Just making a starting point for a hardstyle track, making the leads, making the melodies, adding a pad, adding a bass, an arpeggio. So this serves as a strong foundation for making the rest of the track. And in the next episode you will see how I make the build-up and how I make the break from the beginning. Maybe I will add some vocals to it as well. I'm not sure yet, but it will be fun to include that as well in this tutorial series. So I hope you enjoyed it and I will see you next time.